Let's look at some tools that exist for people. We talk sometimes in speech language pathology of augmentative or alternative communication. Sometimes it's using a device like an iPad. There are special materials like the ones created by Aphasia Institute that can be used. Sometimes um, speech language pathologists use pictures like Boardmaker to create materials. So let's look at what what you could create at home potentially. So one thing you can do is use a wallet as a communication aid, and I'll show you in a minute how that works. You can create something called a communication book, and I'll explain what that is. Or you can create something called a life history book or a life story book.
Here is a typical wallet, and it can actually be, in certain cases, for some people with aphasia, a fantastic communication tool. The fact that it's so ordinary, everyone has one, makes it very desirable because there's no stigma attached to it for the person with aphasia. So what could they put in this wallet? Well, the first thing I would recommend would be an aphasia identification card. Sometimes these are made for the person with aphasia in hospital by the speech language pathologist. What it is a card that will say what aphasia is and often give tips on how to help someone with aphasia. For instance, don't talk too fast, don't yell, things of that nature. And then on the back of the card, I recommend that you put the person's address and a contact name and emergency phone number in case something goes wrong. And so let's see if your speech pathologist didn't make one for the person with aphasia. You can simply go to the website of the National Aphasia Association in the United States, and you can type in the name of the person with aphasia and it'll print this out, and then you simply cut it out, write what the emergency contact, the address on the back, put that in the wallet. We make cards like that for our clients with aphasia at the Aphasia Center of Ottawa, and they have told us of many different kinds of situations where it has come in handy. One example is having some difficulty talking to the driver of the accessible transportation, if they're taking a wheelchair transportation, for instance. Another example is if someone with aphasia has tried their driver's license and gotten their driver's license back after the stroke and are now driving, they might get pulled over by police and they don't sound like they would have before, and the police may not understand why, but if they have the card, they can show it. Same thing when people are traveling, sometimes going through customs. So there are many uses for it. I highly recommend that everyone with aphasia have a card like that in their wallet. What else can you put in? Well, a common question that people are asked is, what did you do for a living before you retired? Or what did you do for a living before your stroke? And the person with aphasia knows what they did for a living, but they may not have the words to say what they did. So an old business card could be very useful, and so I'd recommend putting that in the wallet too. What else? Well, photos of maybe grandchildren. That can be really great. It can be a conversation starter, especially if it's a new baby or maybe an older grandchild who's graduated from a particular program. And I recommend that on the back that you write the first name of the grandchild, because they know who it is, but they may not be able to say the name, and that you write their age and maybe the year that the photo was taken, because sometimes things sit in wallets for a couple of years. Another thing you could put in a wallet might be if the person has a specific interest, or if they or someone close to them had an article in the newspaper, you might want to cut that article out, and that could go in the wallet too. So these are all conversation starters. It can be a really useful tool. However, I will say that some people after a stroke may have difficulty initiating. And so someone who has difficulty initiating may not, use it as a communication tool. They may not go in for the objects. And so it may not be perfect for everyone, but for some people it's really great.